Welcome to Inside the Founders Studio. We're a podcast dedicated to uncovering the grit that make founders, entrepreneurs, and innovative thinkers tick in one of the most crucial industries on the planet, supply chain. To learn more, you can check us out at InsideTheFoundersStudio.com. But for now, let's hand it to our host, Ryan Schreiber.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside the Founders Studio. I'm Ryan Schreiber. One cool thing about this podcast for me is that, at least so far, I'm talking to people that I already know, and I get to learn new things about them and explore that. So today I have a friend of mine, Pavel Botev of Logiflex, whom I talk to all the time. I just spent 40 minutes talking to him before we even started recording. But I get to learn, more about him today, and I'm sure that I'll learn stuff that I don't even know. Pavel is the CEO of Logiflex, a trucking company. I'll let him tell a little bit more about him, but he's one of the most innovative thinkers that I've come across in my time in the industry, which is what I've loved about him and the reason that we're friends. And so I'm really excited to see where this goes, knowing how most of our conversations go, knowing how the conversation we just had went. It'll be interesting. Wish the cameras were rolling in some respects, but you definitely said things you wouldn't want on here. Thanks for jumping on with me to share some of your insights. Pavel, why don't you just go ahead and introduce yourself, introduce your company, and we'll go from there.
Hi, everybody. My name is Pavel. I'm the CEO of Logiflex. Thank you, Ryan, for inviting me. I'm looking forward to an interesting conversation. So a little bit about me. Logiflex was started in 2010. I used to drive a truck before that. Where did I go, Ryan? It's like where I'm from or the company?
Well, I guess that's where you're going for now. Maybe, just kind of the idea is hey, we're Logiflex. We're a 150 truck carrier out of, this is what we service.
Okay. Well, we're not going to be a little less than that. We're a carrier out of Chicago. We're trying to we're serving hazmat carriers. We predominantly do hazmat, but also we do reefer and drive-ins. We have customers that prefer hazmat, temperature controlled hazmat, which is our specialty. So we trying to focus on that. We've been doing this since 2010. Hazmat started actually in 2012 when Mike joined with the company, and we went into that direction. For a moment, for some years actually, we used to service also Canada. We used to go to Canada. The coolest load we did was actually it was to United States, but to Alaska. So we did we did a load in January to Alaska. It was some parts for Apache helicopters to a military base. So it happened that we had a driver that used to be in that military base. It was stationed in that military base. So he almost paid us to do the load, just to do it. So
did you deliver him directly to Sarah Palin's house because she was looking at Russia and she's like, I don't feel comfortable with this. I need some more Apache helicopters, or no?
No,
not quite like that. Okay,
no,
that's fine.
Not exactly like that, and we were not allowed to take pictures, which is shame because the driver said it's extremely cool in this military bases, with a bunch of very expensive hardware, I guess.
Well, it wouldn't be a trucking podcast without if I didn't have a Chicago trucking company driving Apache helicopters to Alaska. So that's a good introduction, I feel like. Pavel, you used to drive a truck. You have a trucking company. You have a technology company. Your hands are in a lot of different things. One of the things I love about you particularly is you're not comfortable doing things the way that everyone else does them. Even the way that you organize Logiflex, a lot of folks who might be listening to this podcast say, okay, an Eastern European trucking company from Chicago, they're picturing the white Volvo, trailers and the trip lease drivers, Yeah, yeah, and they're the trip lease drivers, and picturing that, and that's not how you run your business, which is interesting. Certainly in some respects, at least it is to me. But it just highlights kind of your. I want to do things, but I want to find the right way to do them, which is cool. Why don't you let's start with, and I'm sure we'll get into all that, but who knows? We'll see where this takes us, especially the kind of conversations you and I have. So let's start with growing up. You already talked a little bit about that, but maybe take me through your life up until you maybe moved to the US. Where'd you grow up? What was it like growing up? What was it like being a baby Pavel? Those kind of things.
So I'm I'm from Bulgaria. I was born in town of Ruse, which is on the biggest Bulgarian town of Danube River. And Danube River, it's biggest river, big logistics center big logistics channel for Europe. It's the biggest river in Europe. So I was growing up like normal for Bulgaria, normal. I
was going to say, I know that you did not grow up what I would consider normal.
No, not your normal. My normal over there was different. In Bulgaria, I was post communist countries. 90s, the 90s were very wild. The lucky part on me growing up is that my dad was a truck driver. I don't know if that's lucky, but my dad was a truck driver. So when
depends on how you feel about your dad.
Yes. When things were going up and down with the economy in Bulgaria, we had hyperinflation in 1997. My dad was not affected, or we were not affected by that because we just didn't. My dad didn't use the local currency, which is Bulgarian lev. He had Deutsche marks and US dollars, which was the standard. So growing up, very interesting is I changed 4 schools while before I finished high school. I changed 4 schools, which is very not usual for Bulgaria. Usually people change only 2 schools, so it happened that I changed 4 for a variety of reasons. In one of my schools, actually, I also had to repeat 8th grade. Usually, you repeat 8th grade because of bad scores, I guess. I was a good student, actually, in 8th grade.
You were just too short.
Yeah.
You weren't tall enough to ride the 9th grade ride.
Actually, I was the shortest until 8th grade. I was the shortest, probably. But then one day coming back from school, a car hit me and it broke my 2 legs and two arms. So one thing led to another. I had to miss a year, so I had to repeat my 8th grade.
Jesus. Remember that thing I said about learning new things on this podcast? I did not know that you'd gotten hit by a car. So hang on for a second. When you say you went to 2 different schools, like you live in the US, you have kids, you know how the educational system works here. So for anybody who's kind of isn't familiar with it, what is that like? How is that? What is schooling like there as compared to here? And how does that is that when you say I went to 2 schools? Most people go to 2 schools. Does that mean here you've got like K through 6 at one and 7 through 12 at the next?
Well, over there it's
normally
over there it's K to 8th grade. It's one school, 7 to 8th grade, and then high school it's 9, 10, 11, or 9, 10, 11, 12, depending on what kind of school you go to.
Sure. Okay.
So I was in one school. My mom changed me to another school where I had to take tests to get in. It was German school, so where I had to study German language.
Do you speak German now?
I do not speak German.
Okay. Do you speak any other languages besides
Bulgarian?
Bulgarian, yeah, and English.
Trying on the English.
Okay.
I'm trying to
You're
learn.
Doing a great job.
Yes, thank you. So I went to the German school, but German, I guess, was not my thing. And one thing led to another. I had to leave the school. The system works that you have to take tests. I didn't, I guess, perform well on the test, so I had to go. I had to leave the school. For a small period of time, I was 2 times 8th grade. I was in a different school, 3rd school, and then I had to go in the so-called high school, where I actually graduated high school, and that was it growing up. But my first job was I used to play classical guitar, so my first job was playing guitar in a restaurant when I was 16. Um, I was making I guess equivalent of $7 per day per night, I guess, because it was at night, and and that was all the money in the world. I was extremely rich at the time with $7 per day, because I was working at from 7 to 11, I think, at night, and then during my summer vacation, it was awesome, great experience. We were playing guitar, and that was the best part. But in school, I always had something to do. So I was selling cigarettes during high school. This is how to my classmates. My dad used to bring cigarettes that were from the duty free zone cigarettes. So he would give them to me, and I'll send them to my classmates, which was, it's
Did
different.
you have to give him a cut, or was he just doing it like he's like, I'm not going to pay you, I'm not going to give you like an allowance or whatever. Here's some cigs. Either rip them or sell them. I don't give a fuck.
No allowance. Just give me cigarettes. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So one of the things where Europe's very different than the U.S., like the relationship that the U.S. has with like people, the U.S. has with tobacco versus Europe, is very different. And this is a good example of one. Like, hey, here's 16-year-old son. Here's a carton of cigarettes. I don't give a shit if you just run through them right now in front of me, or if you sell them to your friends, just like whatever.
Yeah,
I can't imagine that happening in like suburbia.
And I don't smoke. This is my inventory, right? I mean, I wouldn't use it. So
never get high on your own supply. It's like right?
No,
hey, I was just been watching Scarface on Netflix while I'm riding my stationary bike, and you never get high on your own supply. Anyway, go ahead.
No, you don't do that. So I was doing that. I was selling passes for my classmates to skip school. They had to give this document to the teacher. So I was selling those to my classmates. This one was my other business. And my
were the legit were they legitimately like free get out of jail free cards, or were they forged? I just want to be clear about this.
Well, I don't know if we can say that. So we have.
Are they going to come for you here and throw you in jail back home? Like, I don't think they give a shit at this point.
No,
that's 25 years. It's 20 years ago, Pavel. I think you're probably past the statute of limitations, buddy.
So yes, that's that. So we had this stamp and this receipts that when you stamp them and you give them to the teacher, and as long as the teacher had this receipt, you could skip school for 3 days or 1 day or something or something. So I was selling those for, I guess, 50, 60 cents, give or take, per receipt. So my classmates could skip school. I was not skipping school again because I'm working. That's I can't.
Yeah. Right.
And in Bulgaria over there we have a classmate. We have a main teacher for the class. It's like cohort. We were in a cohort from the beginning of every class. We're in classes, and we don't change our classes. We're with the same people. And we have one main teacher that is our, I don't know what the equivalent would be. Would be
homeroom, probably like a homeroom teacher kind of thing.
Kind of. And so she was working with me. She was helping with my business because she would be okay. You're gonna buy this stuff anyway. Just buy them from Pavel because he's your classmate. So we had good thing going on there.
Do you have to cut her in?
No, I didn't cut her.
So you're fucking hustling the adults and the kids. The teacher's hooking you up. Your dad's hooking you up. You've got them hustled. They're not on the take. They're just doing it because they like you.
Hey, you have to. You have to do it.
How did you talk this teacher into doing this?
Well,
did you just charm her?
I guess you go and talk with I just talk with her, and she liked that I was honest with her, and this always gets you very far. If you're honest with people, even when you deliver bad news, you it's better always to be honest than to come up with
Yeah.
to come up with a lie. People know when you're lying, and also it's just not good. But if you're honest, even if it's bad and it's going to end up bad for you, then it's always better for you at the
Yeah.
end.
I'm going to be honest with you. You must have just been also much better looking when you were younger to get this over on her. But you know, who knows? So, uh, so you got all right. So you're selling this stuff at school. Keep going. This is great. This is fucking incredible.
So I was yes.
So you're selling cigs. Did you have a package deal here? Was there like, hey, a cigarette's 10 cents, this thing's 60 cents. If you buy them together, I'll give them to you for like 65 cents.
Nobody
What was your commercial model?
Nobody had money to buy more than 2-3 packs of cigarettes, Ryan. Nobody had money there. So I was my cigarettes. They were
except for you, because you were the fucking dealer.
Yeah, but I was. Yeah, but my dad, was supporting me with my allowance in the form of cigarettes.
Yeah, but you had no overhead because you're not having to pay your dad. You don't have to cut your dad, and you don't have to cut the teacher in. So it's all profit for you, is all I'm saying.
No. It doesn't work like this. No, it didn't work like this. So outside, the cigarettes and all this, because I was playing guitar, and my profits from my that I was making, I would put them into musical instruments or whatever that was. So if you ever played music and you were in a band, you know that you're spending your money, you're wasting your money, and you don't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that was me. I was very profitable on that side, but then I was spending them on the musical instruments and playing. I was playing classical guitar, so changed my strings, which were very very expensive because we didn't have them over there. It was very difficult to find them. So when you find them, you have to buy them. So that was one thing. Towards the end of high school, also outside the cigarettes and this other jail passes, I guess. I was, for a brief period of time, I was giving guitar lessons to one of my teacher's son. I was giving classical guitar lessons, and then
same teacher or different teacher?
No, different teacher. Before I turned 18, which is not usual in America, I was working as a bartender when I was 17, I guess. Pouring beer, vodka, you name it. This is how things are over there. In the summers, that's how I was. That's what I was doing. And my other job was, I had another job. Yes. So I was doing guitar, and then I started doing martial arts. And I was doing martial arts. So there was a brief period of time that my martial arts teacher was not present, and I was the highest, I guess, degree there. And for a couple of months, I was actually leading the martial art school. And it was a small school, and I was teaching small kids martial arts. And I'm not martial arts master in it by any extent, but I learned there how to manage kids. They were first grade kids, and I was, in high school, and
this probably served you well in trucking, I would imagine.
Very well. It's very, very relatable experience from kindergarten teacher to truck drivers. It's like,
yeah, I can imagine. I can see how that would translate. What was it? What was it like? So, I mean, it's just an interesting experience. What was it like growing up at that time in Bulgaria? Like, and how or why did you get into all this bullshit?
Which of all the bullshit you're referring to?
Maybe not like the playing guitar and bartending, but like the hustles, I guess.
There are many other hustles that are happening that were standard over there, which we can't discuss. We can discuss on record. And this was this was a way, I guess, to not to survive there. Well, it is something to do there. Otherwise, you let go and someone else controls you. And I since very young age, I kind of knew that I'll probably be very difficult to work for somebody. Not because I don't want to work with other people. It's just someone else telling me how things should be done instead of me coming up. If I don't have that freedom, that's a problem. Like authority, I respect authority, but um, from since a very young age, I would stand up, and when the teacher is not correct, and I think that it's not correct, I will stand up and say so. And that's happened many times during high school, and a little bit before high school, where I was in trouble, but I'll stand up and I'll say, well, not happy with this. And
I doubt this will surprise you, but I've had exactly the same experience.
And this is when I learned, by the way, that if you pretend to be something that, even if you're scared, but if you pretend to be confident, then on the other side, they don't. The other side doesn't have response because they're used to have power and they're abusing power. I mean, teachers abuse power. Used to abuse their power in Bulgaria back in the days. Not all the teachers, but they're like in any industry. You had this 10% that were bad, and the rest 90% were great. But this 10% you had to stand up against them. So that's I was able to do that. But also I saw that, I mean, you have this place of authority, and if you abuse that authority outside school, that would be your boss, your company. Then I'll have difficulty, I guess, working there.
Yeah, I think that what's interesting is that, interesting to me anyway, is you kind of said, like, I don't like having other people tell me what to do, but you're also very curious and open to other ways of doing things, of like input. I mean, that's one of the reasons we're friends, is we talk a lot about solving all the world's problems, but we also talk a lot about business and, like, kind of Logiflex, Camion, which is software platform that you've developed. How to think about running how to think about those businesses. You tell me things about, how I should, run things that I'm working on, or what have you. It's interesting to me that you said the part about how you don't like to have other people tell you what to do. In my experience with you, you balance that kind of desire to be in control with an openness and a willingness to learn from other people and to listen. I mean, one of the reasons that we're close and we're friends, we spend a lot of time talking about business and how to run businesses, et cetera. How do you, where does that kind of curiosity, you think, come from, especially juxtaposed to that desire to be the decider, if you will? Because you don't micromanage other people. You let them learn and be free and what have you.
I've had instances where I micromanage people, and which is bad. But what I like about talking with you is I would disagree with you, and I'll tell you, yeah, but Ryan, this is not the way it is, and then you say, no, it's I think like this because something. Which, if you have that type of conversation, I'm totally interested with it. I don't want to have I don't want to say things will be this way because I said so. I want to be things are this way because I think there's some logic behind it. And if you oppose my logic and you present you present good argument, I'm totally interested in that conversation. So I'm looking, but it's very difficult to find people like that. One of the reasons I work with Mike is that he argues with me and he doesn't agree with me all the time. And then even if I'm in my mood where I want to do something, and then he says, well, you're making a big mistake. If you do it this way, you're making a big mistake, which is going to affect him. But and then we have that discussion of why that's a mistake and what would happen and all that, which for me it's important.
Just quickly, I know who Mike is, but for everyone who doesn't know who Mike is, why don't you tell them who Mike is?
Mike is my partner. He runs operations in Logiflex.
Okay. Keep going. Go ahead.
Okay. So I forgot.
Where do you think your curiosity comes? Like, where do you think this kind of this curiosity that you have kind of innately in you as a person comes from?
I don't know. Since I was very young, my dad he loved to read. We have a bunch of books in Bulgaria for what everything that was allowed to have from my dad's time, which not all the books were allowed. And
Like 1984, for instance, was probably off the table.
1984, it's not it's not working.
Yeah.
And Hemingway, we had I read a lot of Hemingway. He was allowed because fishing.
I've always wondered for whom does the bell toll?
Yeah.
I've never read it, so like I've always wondered. Like, I mean, maybe I should just go read it because I do read a lot. But you can't tell me you don't know. Okay, never mind.
No, I don't know.
All right.
So I was reading a lot, and then I was interested in this, the idea around how people think and the different ways of thinking. I had a book which then I lost and I can't find it. It was an amazing book by a Russian writer that was explaining how the brain works, and then I learned the word mnemonics, and I was looking for mnemonics book in my hometown, and nobody knew what this was. I went to the library. I could not find no material for mnemonics. And mnemonics, it's the science of how you can remember stuff. It's part of how brain works. So I guess my curiosity comes. I wanted to know more stuff, and I couldn't find them, so that kind of scarred me. And when I came here to the States with English, which more popular language than Bulgarian, with all the books that there is, and then you have Google and you have websites, and then you can learn so much more. And then I learned that I know very little. I found my mnemonics information, my mnemonics books here, and but then you see in United, we're going in different directions a little bit, but then I learned how in United States you can do stuff, and you can think about stuff, and you can really do what you're thinking about. Like I want to open a company. Opening Logiflex, I opened one night when I came back from a trip at 10 o'clock at night. I was searching what is better, S corporation, C corporation. I was looking for a name. I read Secretary of State information, and then I think I opened it at 1 o'clock, 1 a.m. And in the morning, I had a EIN number. I had everything, so I had a company overnight. And eventually, the jump from I want to start a business to actually making the first step. It's very easy here. And that's
where does the name come from?
Excuse me?
You said you were thinking of a name. Where did the name? Where did Logiflex come from?
At the time, I was reading a lot about again brain functions, how you think, what is logic. I'm always interested in puzzles. It's something that I like a lot. Rubik cubes and all this stuff. So I was thinking about logic, and it was supposed to be flexible logistics, something I tried to come up with a name. So Logiflex was like flex logic, it's not working, or flexible logistics too long. So that's how Logiflex came.
All right, that's a good one. You had these kind of jobs, so like let's kind of go. We'll work our way to you coming to the U.S. because I actually want to talk about that for a time. But so before that, just some of my foundational questions that I typically ask people. Some of this is a data gathering exercise. I'm going to build some sort of chart that's like, to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to have been fired from at least 2 jobs. Have you ever been fired?
My first job,
the guitar playing one or the cigarette selling one?
The guitar player one. I kind of shot myself there in the leg, and then
you were too good, or what happened?
No, so I collected money, and with my friends we decided, okay, we're gonna go to take a vacation on the sea. So we went to vacation. We asked them, but we're gonna come back and we're gonna continue doing this because I'm making a lot of money. And I left for a week, and then when I come back, they hired someone else, and they were okay, guys, but we hired someone else, so you're not needed. So
You're like, but I said we were going to come back.
yeah, and and they said, yeah, that's fine. So
okay, so now you got fired from that one. That's not really getting fired so much as that's you.
Yeah,
decided to stop showing up for work, and they didn't let you get your job back. But that's cool.
I was kicked out. I was kicked out from the German school because I did not continue in the German school. And then when I was repeating my 8th grade, I was supposed to continue the 8th grade, but then my mother kicked me out of 8th grade, I guess. So I had to repeat the 8th grade, which
you got hit by a car. Like that's why you got held out of 8th grade.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I was.
So, all right. How about this? Did you play any sports, or was that?
I was doing just the martial arts. I'm not a big sports guy. I was doing just the martial arts. I enjoyed it. Actually, I got a lot of lessons that I still use in my work, in my life, in my life philosophy. You can say from that.
Was there ever any like major, kind of setbacks in that time that like really stick with you? I mean, maybe like getting kicked out of the German school, or maybe like a meet at the, some sort of martial art competition that you lost, or what's that?
We get the martial arts competition that I got beaten.
Yeah, like you were in Cobra Kai and like Karate Kid came up and get him a body bag, and then it's you, you're the one who gets fucking knocked out.
I guess the biggest thing also, I was with a classical guitar. That was a big thing for me. I love classical guitar. It's so I went to a competition where I felt miserably, like really, really bad. I was really bad there, and I didn't continue to the next stage, and of course I didn't win. That was a big disappointment for me. But this was one of my best experiences actually, because when I came back from, I started revising on what went wrong and how it happened. Actually, that was helped me be a better guitar player after that event. After I felt miserably there, that was big failure that really helped me, and I made fool myself in front of a lot of people. But what are you gonna
do? How so? Like, what made you fail, or like what went wrong?
Well, the biggest part is like I play my piece, and I had to play I think 3 pieces, and I played one piece, I started playing the first piece, but the way that you hold the classical guitar, you have to step one of your legs. You have to be on the small stepping stool. This is how you usually do it. And I put only my fingers on the front side of my shoe on the stepping stool, and my heel was in the air. So when I was playing, because I was very nervous, I was shaking. Mm-hmm. So when my heel, it's not on the steady ground, it's just shaking. So ultimately, when someone's shaking your guitar, you don't play something that you need to play. And from there, it went just downhill. It just didn't work.
Let's talk a little bit about kind of the experience of like moving from Bulgaria to the US. Like one of the things that this podcast is about is kind of exploring the concept of like risk and failure and like fear of failure and that kind of stuff. But it's interesting. I haven't had anybody on who's had to go through an experience of being like, I'm going to leave everything behind and go to another country. So, kind of what was that experience like? How did the opportunity come up? How did you decide what you were going to do? And kind of like, what did you, for starters, did you know English when you came to the US or no?
I thought that I knew English.
Okay.
And then when I came, I learned that I don't know English. Okay. So that was, when I was still in high school, my mom filed for a green card. And I remember very clearly when she told me to go to a photo studio where they had to take a picture for the green card application. I almost didn't go, but eventually I went, and they took my picture. I was with my bike, and then I went to do something else.
The bike was in the picture with you, like because you wanted to.
I did not know Mike at the time. So
No. You said a bike. You said you went with your bike, and so I was joking to say the bike was in the picture with you. Like I'm picturing,
no, I
I'm
guess
picturing one of those '80s like glamour shots with you
yes,
and your
yes,
bike.
yes. Well, the bike was very glamorous for me. It was
Yeah.
and my dad bought this bike from I guess this bike was stolen because my dad bought that bike in Nuremberg from Germany at night from some people that just came to the truck stop, say, hey, do you want to buy a bike for
And
very
he's like,
cheap?
well, I've got these cigarettes, so we can trade, I guess.
So this time I didn't have cigarettes. So and then during the process you have to go through interview and all that. I graduated high school. I went to college, which my degree, so it happened, was logistics. I did not take the special classes. It was my first, I guess, grade in university. I was junior, I guess. So I went to the so-called student. So the neighborhood of the capital, Sofia, it's called Student City. It's not city like city, but that's how it's called, Student City, where all the students live, like the campus with all the dorms. And I used to live there for a year, and it was amazing. I mean, you're a student, you know what it is.
I
Except
have been a student, yes.
except here, being a student, it's better than. I mean, when you're 20, actually, everything is better. Um, our room where I used to live. You've seen my office. It's half of my office, and we used to be 3 people living in that.
Yeah. You're right. When I was 20, it was the last time I had hair, so like it definitely was better back then. Now it's migrated down, but yeah, I mean, that part was better. The being broke part was terrible.
Yeah, I was constantly broke, but well, not constantly broke, but
yeah, because you were selling cigarettes and fucking passes to get out of school
in university. But I used to work as an accountant while I was at school, which was not ideal now when I look back at it, but this is how it was. But when we were supposed to live, and I was supposed to live I used to live with my friends. I had job, I had school. You're 20. I was 20 years old, with everything that counts being a student. It was awesome. And then I had to go with my mom, with my 2 sisters. My dad didn't come at the time, and we have to leave and go to this country that's far away. I thought that I knew the language. I didn't know the language. My mom didn't know the language. My sisters didn't speak any English, so it was really difficult. But I was okay. At least something's changing, which I guess it would suck, and it really sucked at the very beginning. So from very nice life, I came here in Chicago suburbs, really with I think I had $20. Someone gave me $20 that I had, and altogether with my mom, we had about $1,000. All the money that we had. So we came to this apartment where 1-bedroom apartment where 4 of us had to live, and we slept on the floor. I came with one suitcase that half of the suitcase was full with books, the books that I want to take with me, and the other half was the few clothes that I owned at the time. But the scariest thing was on the airport, where I usually, when I go out, I have my wallet, I have keys, and at the time I had phone, this big phone. But at the airport, I gave my phone to some of my friends because I didn't need it. I did not have a key, so my key was not in my pocket, and I did not have a wallet because I'm going to some place where everything that in my wallet, I had one debit card, one ID, and some cash. That's what I used the wallet for. Would not work, so I could not use my wallet. So I had empty pockets, and it was very weird feeling at the airport when you have ticks where now I'm checking for where is my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I usually was checking for keys, wallet, and phone, and they were not there. And it was not that I lost them; I just need them. So that was very, very weird, very weird experience. But coming here, when I came in 2004, right after Thanksgiving on Friday, and my first job for a little bit, I used to work as in construction. So it really sucked from being a student, coming to the Chicago winter, working in construction, it was really really difficult. While my friends out there was keep being students and having a life.
So let's kind of pause here for a second. What was that like? So maybe you find out you're going to get you get your green card. Your mother, your sister, they're going to be coming with you. Like, what was that? I mean, just deciding to go forward with it and say like, okay, cool, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna leave everything behind, and I'm gonna go to the U.S. where like obviously it's gonna be like, if this isn't a Fievel Mouskowitz situation, like the streets aren't paved in gold. Are you familiar with Fievel?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a story of like it's like a Disney. I think it's Disney, but maybe not. But no, it's not Disney. But it's when I was a kid, it was like an animated movie about a Russian mouse moving to America. And like he's like sings this song about the streets are paved in gold. Okay, forget it. But anyway, the point is, you're not moving here thinking like, holy shit, like cool, like everybody in America just like you show up and they give you $1 million, I'm sure, right? So, what was that like? I mean, you had to leave your friends. It's not like you were a child. You were an adult. You had a life. You had friends. You had $20 in your pocket.
I was very happy with my life over there, but then I can't tell you if I'm thinking now, since I lived here most of my adult life, I've always had the feeling that I'll come to the US. I can't explain to you why, but I've always had the feeling that, okay, this is like, I would watch a movie and it's not like, okay, I'm going to go get $1 million, but I've always, for some reason, I had the feeling, okay, yeah, but I will be there when I grow up anyway. This is how it was.
It was inevitable in a manner of speaking, is kind of how it felt.
I guess, and then you have this chance, which for me it's like, okay, you have this chance. Let's go and take the chance and see what happens. What's the worst can happen? Come back.
What's the worst that can happen? A lot of bad things.
Yeah.
I think that's how most people would think about it. Were you scared? Like, were you nervous?
Nervous, but also excited. It's a new place. It's the US. It's like, it's really difficult to explain that to an American. But it's exciting. United States, it's exciting.
I think most Americans are pretty excited about the U.S. That's actually the problem with most Americans internationally, right? But no, I know what you mean.
And
go ahead.
And it's the place where you can go and you can grow. You can do whatever. You can do anything in the U.S. This is not the case on the other side of the ocean.
So when you got here, you started working. So it sounds like the decision was relatively easy for you to be like, all right, cool. My mom's going, my sister's going. I've always kind of felt like I was going to be in the U.S. It's the land of opportunity. Go look up Fievel Mouskowitz when we're done with this, for what it's worth. I think you would, like, I don't know. I'd like your take on it. Show it to the kids. But then you get here and it's like, obviously right away, not great. You said it was hard, right? Like, so your friends are, it's 2004, so the internet exists, I guess, which is good. But like, it's not like FaceTime existed and Skype existed. Like, you must have been difficult to talk to your friends. You're sleeping on the floor in this apartment. Like, you're working construction in the winter.
It was absolutely difficult, but at the time we had this text messaging platform which we used to use to chat with text messages in 2004 in Bulgaria. So and then I learned that if you go here in the library, the internet is free, which was awesome. So I was able to chat with my friends, and email at the time was good enough. I mean, think about it. We didn't know about FaceTime, so we didn't know that we missed FaceTime.
Yeah, totally, 100%. Yeah.
Eventually, when Skype came around, and then we could see each other, which was awesome for when I was able to afford a camera for my and a computer. But eventually, this came around. At the beginning, my emails, I still keep my emails in one of my emails. With my friends, they were really helping me emotionally because it's difficult. But then on the other side, I'm in the US. Something's new. I should not lose that opportunity. So I should go and try to learn more stuff. So I came in November, and in January I signed up for English classes in Harper here in Harper Community College. This is where I really learned that I don't speak English whatsoever. But these classes help you take English classes. Gradually, you learn that you're growing. You're learning new stuff that you're applying on. You're speaking the language with with other people, and one thing leads to another, and you're still growing and growing. Which, in my world, that was America.
And, I guess get settled in the States. Like, how did you move past that early stage of, it being really difficult to adjust to the language, to the community, to the weather, to the isolation you probably felt? I mean, that's why, again, kind of this podcast is about like, okay, how do we get through challenges and stuff too? And what are some of the coping mechanisms? So how did you, that probably, I'm sure that there were days where it just felt like, okay, I made a bad choice. How did you fight through that failure?
Well, there are two things. First, you find people, but people that you can share your difficulties, and also people from the new world, people that are not from your old world, like new people that will introduce you to the new world. After the construction, which I worked for a little bit. Actually, I work in construction for 2-3 weeks, and then I work for a couple of months. I work in a body shop. For 3 months, I work in a auto body shop for painting cars and stuff. And then I went and became an electrician. I started working as an electrician. And as an electrician, I didn't work with Bulgarians. I worked with Americans, where I learned that you go to a Mexican restaurant and you eat tacos, and then you have burgers and cheeseburgers.
Especially if you're me. I do that all in one night, to be clear. I go eat the tacos, then I go have the hamburger for sure.
I learned about guacamole, which is absolutely the best the best invention the best food that you can find. Things like this, this is how you learn the culture, and this is how it feels better. So the short answer is find people. Find people that to share your experience, things that you don't know. Find people that can guide you, and also find people that understand your pain, I guess.
So how did you get into trucking?
So when I was coming to United States, I knew that truck drivers are making money, and my dad was a truck driver.
If you ask most of them, they would say they're not. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. For Bulgarian standards, they were making money. And my dad was, please don't become a truck driver. Don't be a truck driver. That's not okay. My mom was in a total agreement with my dad. Please do not become a truck driver. The worst thing that can happen to you is to become a truck driver. Don't do that. So I was working as electrician, and I don't know, my boss at the time was not filling up my hours. I was not making enough hours, and we were doing outside work than electrical work, which was kind of whatever. I didn't feel comfortable, so I got a CDL, and my idea was that I'll get a CDL, I'll go out drive for a little bit, and I'll save money for school. So my goal was, I want to finish college. I want to get a bachelor's degree. So I got a CDL, started driving, and I drove over the roads for a couple of months, and then I started driving for Panera Bread. Panera Bread, I was delivering dough here in Chicagoland area. Panera Bread, by the way, it's a great company, very, very nice company. How they treat their employees.
Oh, good to know. In St. Louis, they call it Bread Co. My biggest customer was in St. Louis, and so I think they're based there or whatever. So they still call it St. Louis Bread Co. in St. Louis.
Yeah, this is the original name, but I guess St. Louis Bread Co. doesn't work in Chicago.
Or I guess the rest of the U.S. which seems strange, but they kept the name in St. Louis, which is good for them. But anyway,
Yeah.
little fun fact for those of you who've never been to St. Louis.
So from there, I was and I had a perfect job because I was working my hours for the week, and I was able to go to school. But then I was not rested. It was very normal, stable, predictable, and it was. I felt bored, extremely bored. So I quit. I quit from that job, which I mean, I was doing the job there, and I quit and I started driving over the road. And my goal again was, I go over the road, I'll save $10,000. That was my goal, $10,000. And then I quit again, and I go to school. So I finish school, and then while I'm in school with this $10,000, I'll be able to pay for school, and eventually I'll get another job after school. So I started driving over the road. One thing led to another. I drove for a little over 2 years. And then I bought my truck. I never saved the money to go to school. I mean, I never organized my time so I can go back to school afterwards. So I saved my money, and I bought my first truck in 2010 when I started Logiflex, and from there, I started adding trucks.
Mm-hmm. What made you start Logiflex? You said you showed up at home 10 o'clock at night. What made you start
I was thinking that I want to start I was thinking that I need to start a company. I need to start my own thing. I wanted to go and not just drive a truck, because driving truck is really nice job, by the way. Outside all the jokes and everything, if you accept the life of a truck driver, you would have a good life. If that's for you, you would have a good life, because you decide when to work. I mean, outside EODs, outside everything else, you decide when to work. You always have job. If you want to take 1 week off, you can do that. It's not like corporate work where you have only 2 weeks vacation per year, or 3 weeks vacation. With truck driving, it's not like this. So you have that type of freedom. If that's your lifestyle, it's awesome job. It's really awesome job, because you also make a lot of money. It's in that regard, truck driving was nice. But I wanted to grow, to learn more, to learn new things, curiosity again, and I wanted to see how it is to organize trucks. How much more I would learn by adding more trucks. So, and then I met my wife, which kind of sped up my decision. I met up my wife. I already had Logiflex open, and I had my truck, and I was working towards paying off my trailer and my truck. And then I met my wife, which sped up the process of buying another truck, finding the drivers, and then going into that direction.
Trucking is a very risky business. A lot of folks that I'm close with in the industry are intermediaries, and a lot of them are truckers or trucking companies. And, the cyclical nature of the business doesn't really affect the intermediaries, right? I mean, they feel like certainly there are ups and downs, and the top line revenue goes up or goes down, but but they persist, because there's just the overhead, the leverage, the debt, the risk, the fixed expenses are all relatively low. Trucking's not that way. Trucking is the opposite, right? The fixed expenses are high. The variable expenses are also, are high, but they're, there's a lot else than just the person in the seat. So, that's, how do you think about, I say all of that to say, how do you kind of mid-sized trucking company now think about that success, like what success and failure means in riding those waves?
You're asking me so I can tell you about how we think, how I see it. For a trucking company, and being Eastern European in Chicago, I also had white Volvos at some point. Now I think we have very few white Volvos, 2 or 3. You have to diversify. And when you're a smaller company, you can diversify. You can diversify better. But by diversification, I mean the type of drivers you have. You can have company drivers. You have owner operators. If you have owner operators only company, you behave almost the same like a 3PO company. You have very little overhead because you don't have trucks. You're only dispatching other trucks under your own authority. So ultimately, your expenses are the same as a broker, but you have the trucks. The downside is that you have to tend to the driver needs, and they're great owner operators, and there's some that are more needy, and it's up to you to decide where you're going to spend the most time and how much of that time it's going to pay off all the bills. Because if you two trucks are making $20,000 in revenue, and you take the same percentage from the two trucks, but one of the truck takes 90% of your time and the other truck takes only 10% of the time, how do you make more trucks that take only 10% of the time, so you can increase your revenue?
Mm-hmm.
And with trucking, a lot of carriers here, I would call ethnic carriers, because not only Eastern Europeans. You see that it's trucking is very ethnic industry. And yesterday, actually, I was in a meeting where someone was discussing about grocery stores, and the person was saying how ethnic grocery stores are beating, the Drew Wolf's here in Chicago. We have Drew Wolf's, Mariano's, those even Whole Foods. They're beating their profits. They're beating their revenue. They're beating everything. I'm guessing that is the case with ethnic trucking companies. So the way that the small trucking companies, they want to diversify, because they see very fast how having a lot of trucks in March, when you need to pay registration for all these trucks, really sucks. It's really bad. And then when you have to renew insurance, for insurance for 3PL company, it's, I don't know how. The most expensive part is
cheap.
It's very cheap. But for trucks, it's not. But for trucking companies, it's not like this. It's like $10,000 per truck per year. That's a lot. So what they do is they diversify. And the problem that I've seen with some companies is, when is the right time to diversify, and do you have the right clients to diversify? So you have company drivers, you have owner operators, and then you can branch out into having your own repair shop. You can branch into having warehouse with and where you consolidate loads, and about having two loads in one trailer. That is happening. It used to happen in Chicago. I hope it doesn't happen anymore. But two loads with beer in one trailer, and the trailer collapses because you put 80,000 pounds into a trailer that's rated for 65,000 pounds.
Yeah, I'm sure that's never happened before.
Yeah, that's probably new to yes.
That's new. It's news to the DOT. I'm sure of it.
Yes.
So diversification is kind of how you defray the risk, right? You've gotten into some other things with software and, like you said, kind of maintenance. But how do you think about kind of like you branched out into this to this in 2010, right? The industry was like it was okay. Like it was coming off of, like, obviously a few years of down, but we've seen some high highs and some low lows here, right? And how do you abstractly, like, how do you you and I have talked about 2019 and how hard 2019 was for you guys as a business, and that was a hard time. One of the things you've shared with me before is, kind of like you were worried about your company at the time, right? How do you think about, what does it mean? Like, maybe start with this. What does success for Logiflex mean? Like, what does it mean that Logiflex is successful? How would you know? How would you wake up one day and say, cool, we're successful. I'm good. We've done it.
I would be really happy. Success in Logiflex is people that are working. My team that's working in Logiflex is very proud of the company that they're working for. This is success for me. This is 2019. The way it was horrible year. It was horrible for us, and we pulled through. And my team was with me. I would like to see drivers happy with working for Logiflex and finding a place for where they feel that their needs are met, and their needs are not just how many cents per mile you're paying. With drivers throughout the time, my big thing until certain point for me, and unfortunately I can't do it anymore because now we have much more drivers, and I can't spend as much time with the driver with the drivers. Is when I talk with drivers, and you hear the driver's story, you hear the driver's point of view, and then you have a discussion, and driver respect you because you've been there and you know their pain, and they feel good about the decisions that you're making. They feel good about being part of that team if they see that the company operates for the drivers, and not just for the sake of saying we're a drivers company or something, drivers company. I really believe that if you monitor people and what their needs are, and you hear what they're saying, you can do better. You can do better for them. And I'm in a position where if I'm able to hear all the people what they're doing, I can do better for them. And this is one of the things that I'm actively investing and spending money about on tools, how to be able to be better listener. But how do you do this when you have over 100 drivers? When
Talk over them.
How do you spend personal time for all these drivers? What about bigger companies? I'm pretty sure that every trucking company wants the drivers to feel good about their company, especially
right, for sure.
what it is now. But the big guys, the JB Hunts, the Covenants, the US Express, the Knights and Swifts, there are also people, but it's just not possible for management to spend time for drivers, to say something to the drivers, to show not only drivers, to the rest of the people how that they appreciate what they're doing. I'm sure that the top position CEOs and the presidents, vice presidents in any company, they want to have the way of showing that they appreciate what other people are doing. Just physically, how do you do that? How I solved it, and probably we're going in a different direction, but I'm very proud of what how I did it. We deployed a messaging platform in the end of 2019. Yes, the end of 2019. Around Christmas, we deployed a messaging platform. We streamlined all of our messages through that platform, and I use this platform to monitor conversations with drivers. So now I showed you before where I can filter all the different messages from when driver doesn't feel good about something, or mention something that's bad, or say something related to safety, to maintenance. So I listen to all these messages, and I can filter them and channel them to the proper department. In my mind, I think if driver immediately responded to something, drivers reaching out because they're on the road and they're alone. I don't know if you've driven through Montana, for example, or through Wyoming. It's more populated, but if you've gone through Montana, there are certain parts on Montana and North Dakota and South Dakota that you're really alone. There is nothing. You drive for an hour. There's no gas stations. There's nothing. There's not even corn. It's horrible. And in those situations, the drivers went. So drivers are on the road in places that they've never been to. When they send a text message, they're reaching out. They ask for help, and if the company is not there there to provide that help, then how the driver feels. You're thrown somewhere and go do your thing. When you finish, just tell me that everything is done. That doesn't work this way. So that's why I'm looking of how do we listen. How do we listen to drivers? And
so
my tool.
Sorry, go ahead.
And I was very happy when we deployed this tool, and to test it out, I sent the message to all the drivers to all the drivers with my name. This was the only way that I could send messages to all the drivers, and that was for around Christmas and New Year's holidays. So I sent Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. We have Jewish drivers, by the way.
Oh, it's good. I'm
I
sure
was
they're the best ones.
yes, and I sent him a message, and I had very, very positive reply. I highly recommend everybody who is in leadership position to find a way how to communicate, to send personal messages to their employees, being drivers or any other position. That was my best Christmas gift because all the drivers are extremely positive. They didn't expect something like this to happen, and I that was again my best Christmas gift because I felt so happy that these other drivers, that these other people that are on the road for the holidays, they felt appreciated, and they thanked me for uh, thinking about them in those times. So things like this.
Well,
Go ahead.
what would it mean? What would it mean if Logiflex failed then? I mean, success is building an environment where people feel, people feel like they're a part of something, and they're proud. They're proud to say that they're a part of your company. So what would failure look like?
I would disappoint. I would disappoint the trust of the people I work with. This is this is failure. I would you build a company, and you create an organization. You create an environment where people are coming in that organization, and they do what they do, and then you provide a place where they work and they can provide it for themselves. So idea is they come and they trust you that you're gonna make the right decisions, so they won't lose their jobs. They won't lose their money. And if you make the wrong decisions, and you fail, financially, then you fail in you they trust you, and then you kind of cheat them from that trust. I don't know how if I'm properly explaining that with my English being my second language.
No, I think that makes sense to me, right? I mean, you feel like you sold them a bill of goods would be a term that we kind of use. Do you like there's success? Excuse me. Sometimes you're lucky and sometimes you're good. Are you familiar with the phrase like it's better to be lucky than good?
No, I'm not.
Okay, just like it's a phrase. It's better to be lucky than good. Right? Like it's great to have all the talent in the world or whatever it might be, but like sometimes if you get lucky 100% of the time, like you're going to come out on top. It's better to be lucky than good is the phrase. Like, is there, in your success at Logiflex so far, do you think that you've been lucky, or do you think it's been that you were just that good at what you did and everything?
Oh, I'm both, but mostly lucky. Like we had, I'm luck. Definitely lucky. I hope that I'm good, but we had. I mean, I know the message that I'm sending you from time to time, and I have here is for whoever is looking for YouTube. I have this gift.
For anybody who wasn't watching, anybody who's not seeing this on YouTube, or even if you were seeing it on YouTube, it's a picture of a Logiflex truck that had hit a light post that, with the sun beautifully rising in the background, that it's framed on Pavel, the stoplight that's framed on Pavel's desk.
Yeah. So that's from the funny ones where I don't know how much we paid for this stoplight, but it was not a lot because I heard about it. But this was from the little, I guess the little devil, as we call it in Bulgaria. We had situations, we had accidents with drivers. That were very close calls for someone losing their lives. This is regardless of what you're trying to do. Sometimes you need to be lucky. Luck helped us a lot. That's what I'm saying. We're trying to proactively enforce safety procedures, trying to do something for drivers, but you can't always do it.
So I was on Ted Alling I had on here of Access America, and I asked him kind of the question of like, tell me a time when you were just plain lucky, and he mentioned they like got some meeting with Komatsu and all of a sudden just had like a ton of business when they were a tiny company. Certainly as a trucking company, there's times when you're just lucky, to your point, that like that accident wasn't worse. But as you think about kind of the development of your company, are there times where you had situations where you really like you lucked out and you like it made you who you are today?
Oh, I call this the days of the week. We situation where we got really lucky. Well, I'm thinking about the obvious when we avoided accidents, but
Yeah, beyond something like that, something that was like really landing a big account that Ted's was landing a big account. Maybe sometimes it's something that you thought you were going to do and then you didn't. And then it ended up like that was like a good decision for y'all.
well, one of the we got lucky with our biggest account. I guess they called us because so it happened that they saw our name in their list. I didn't know that where you sign up. When you go inside some place,
Yeah.
you sign up with your name.
Yeah.
I didn't know that people are reading this list, but apparently this company they did, and they saw that we're very often there, so they reached out to us, and one thing led to another. We sign up with them. But this was, I don't know if that would be considered lucky. Another thing that I guess could be lucky is involves an accident that destroyed one of our trailers. But that led me to start thinking about software. So we had a driver who was not a bad guy until the accident. So he hit 40 miles an hour. He hit a bridge, and he was loaded with paper, rolls of paper. So he completely destroyed the trailer. Paper rolls over the place, all that. Truck was fine, so he was able to drive to the nearest truck stop. But after this accident, you need to do a drug test. So this is, it's mandatory. The accident happened, I think, on Sunday. We tried to find a place within. We sent him for drug test. I think on Sunday or Monday. I don't remember what was the day of the week, but eventually we sent him for a drug test, but he refused to pick up the phone after that. So he started running away with the truck. Eventually, we find out. We chased him with the police. He called us back because he saw the police. He got scared. He called me and said, "Well, I smoked a little weed. I got scared and I didn't want to go to a drug test, so that's why I did what I did." Eventually, he left the truck at the truck stop and he went on his way. That was way before clearinghouse some years ago. And then we went and looked at his where the pattern that he drove, and it didn't make sense. And very soon after that accident, I had another driver, and I think I told you that story. We had another driver that had a stroke, but he was at home, and he had a stroke. That was not inside the truck. He was one of our drivers. His wife took care of him. He went to the hospital. They did what they did, and they let him go. But a month later, he called us and said, "Well, I need my job back because I'm out of money. I need to work." So we took him back to Chicago. We asked for medical receipt because he had a stroke. I don't know if you're able to drive a truck after you're having a stroke. I'm not a doctor.
I don't know.
We sent him for a doctor, and some doctor gave him a receipt that. That's karma, by the way. I was selling those receipts and somebody gave me that receipt back. He did the same thing to me. So
comes full circle.
Absolutely. So he came back. He came back to us to Chicago. He took the truck and he was supposed to pick up one of the one trailer. Something that he knew. He's done that before because he was a driver for us for a year before the stroke, and he took some ridiculous roads to pick up the trailer. He was supposed to drive from, I don't know, it was 30-minute trip using mostly highways, 90 to 94, mostly major highways. he went to some residential areas with bobtail, and for 2-3 hours he could not find the place where he used to be. And we saw on the map how he's driving. Then I chased him with a car with one of my dispatchers. We chased him with a car. I took the truck. My dispatcher took him, and we took him to a hotel. He was not fit to drive. So eventually he got fired. But we also, because we were monitoring this, and that was very close to the other accident that ripped our trailer open. So we saw that there was a pattern that there was a pattern that shows when a driver is getting into an accident. And then we started looking specifically for that. And we had EODs, by the way, at the time. We installed our EODs in 2014. So we were way before, we started using them. That's really helped me. That decision was my good decision. That really helped me. And I was thinking, what if a software monitors that driver's behavior, and if you monitor driver's behavior and alerts us before accident happens, then that's awesome. We can prevent those accidents. We don't want this to happen. So one thing led to another. My friend, with whom we started Chemion, we spoke about it. Originally, Chemion was supposed to look for that information, and we need to merge data from the EODs, from the TMS at the time, TMS, and from other sources to consolidate. We were playing, we're thinking we're going to do machine learning, and it's going to be awesome, and we're going to change the world, and it doesn't work this way. And then we learned that TMSs at the time are horrible. They don't have no connection, no API API connection, no integration with anything. You can't read that data.
Can confirm.
Yes, EODs we were using. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name of the company of the EODs, but we're using them. They were nice, but it was extremely difficult to read the data. So we had. I didn't have to, but my friend who was the developer, he had to do some magic stuff to pull the data. So eventually that led to Chemion, which originally we didn't know what it is. One thing led to another, and it became the I want to say it's not a TMS, it's a trucking platform for managing trucking operation. With the idea that ultimately one day will become the place, one of the pieces that you need to run a trucking company or trucking business. I'm reading your blog, and your colleague Joe wrote about the star
schema.
The star schema. This really resonates with me because if you're using that schema in your operation, and for every trucking company out there that's listening, go and read the blog and do exactly what Joe is telling you to do.
Or better, just call me and let Joe help you do it. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Call Ryan, and he'll do what he's doing. So if you have these different parts, different parts that are helping with the operations of your company, talking to each other, then you can run your business efficiently, and then you can start thinking that maybe the trucking is not going to be as dangerous. It's not going to be as ineffective because and overhead. You're still going to have a lot of overhead with trucks. That goes without saying. But
all of it comes back. All of it comes back to the same concept, like I think that you've talked about throughout, which is, look at different ways of doing things. Like look at, take in the information that you have and try and find, opportunities to improve. And then don't be afraid to try new things. I mean, whether it's slinging cigarettes or it's, moving to the US or it's getting into trucking or it's, building software or what have you, like just try something. What's the worst that, like you said earlier, like move to the US, what's the worst that could happen? Try something and see what happens. And if you do it in a manner that's like not going to sink the ship, you don't bet everything on it necessarily. Everything could be okay. Yeah.
Be very open with people and tell them if you think that something. Be very transparent. That's a very, very important. Be proactive, not reactive to situations. That's what I learned from martial arts. It's like on martial arts, one thing is like if you want to win a fight, and you see the fight happens before the actual physical confrontation. So if you want to win in physical confrontation, be the first one to throw the first punch. So this is how you win a fight. But the gist of it is be proactive, be the first one. You see that where the situation is going, just do it.
Fortune favors the bold. I said that to you when we were talking before we jumped on here, right? Fortune favors the bold. Here's I appreciate you sharing the time with me. Like here, this is kind of my last question, and then I can kind of let you get back to your life, because you've been really generous with your time. What advice would you give yourself day one of Logiflex, looking back at it? Like, with all of this stuff, it's kind of most of it's ingrained in who you are, about being honest, being proactive, calling it what it is, even if it's going to be something that could turn out bad for you. So what do you wish you would, or what would you go back and tell yourself day one? Like, hey, keep this in mind. Again, not buy Bitcoin. I've said that on every episode, but this one I'm going to say it again, because that's the advice I would give myself. But yeah,
don't try to do everything yourself. Try to find the right people to help you build your vision. You will not be able to do everything yourself. It's going to slow you down. I've tried that. I've done it. I've done in every position in Logiflex. I've worked every position. It's how is it called? Jack of all trades, master of none. That's
yeah. Or it's the phrase: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you tell yourself.
Find the right people to work with you, and then that's going to help you tremendously.
Yeah, this was great, Pavel. I really enjoyed this, and I always enjoy talking to you. We do it often, but not often enough, if you ask me. Where for anybody listening, if they want to learn more about you or about Logiflex or Camion or whatever else, where can they learn more?
They can go to logiflex.com. It's our website, or camion.io, and then you can learn about Camion. Or come to our office in Park Ridge and
just show up. Just here we are in Park Ridge.
In Park Ridge, we're working.
That's okay. Yeah, just have them just show up. Matt Vogrich said, "Call me on my cell phone." So at least you didn't say that. It was like, oh, you just want anyone who's listening to this podcast? Do I just flash your cell along the bottom of the screen, buddy? I guess I'll post the physical address to Logiflex. Pavel, thanks a ton for the time. I really appreciate it, as always. And for anybody who's listening, thanks for listening. Remember to subscribe, or I don't know, do all that stuff I'm supposed to say at the end of every episode. And until next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Inside the Founder Studio. A couple quick things before you go. We're proudly hosted on the Logistics of Logistics Network. To hear more content from the industry's top leaders in supply chain and logistics, check out thelogisticsoflogistics.com. And until next time, onward and upward.